5 o'clock according to my little phone, so we're going to get this thing started. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Deborah Frank. I am the Fayette County Republican Party Chairman, and I welcome you all here tonight. I appreciate your attendance and your willingness to come and get to know these candidates, learn something about their views and their qualifications. And that's what we're here for tonight, just to educate voters so you can make an informed decision for the March 1st primary. Let's start with the invocation and the pledges to the flag, so I'm going to ask everyone to stand. We're going to start with the invocation first. Heavenly Father, those who know the Bible, our history, and our Constitution know that Christians founded America. Our founding fathers acknowledged that all of our rights come from God, not man. Knowing this, we repent for our sins and the sins of our leaders. We ask you to forgive our leaders for broken promises and hardened hearts towards people in America and elsewhere. Forgive us for allowing ungodly, dishonorable, and incompetent leaders to rule our nation. Corruption abounds in our government. Please forgive us and help us elect honorable men and women who will serve the people, not themselves. Father, situations on earth may seem hopeless, but this isn't true. We can ask you for miracles, and you can deliver them. We pray for our brothers and sisters in America and around the world. We pray for all American citizens, but especially our first responders, our health workers, our missionaries, and those in our military. Extend your grace to them, Lord. And Father, we ask for the great harvest of souls to continue. We ask for a stunning revival. We ask this for other nations as well. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, now the pledges to the flag, starting with the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Okay, to start this off on the right foot, I'm going to read an excerpt from a book that was written by our current president of the Texas Republican County Chair Association. His name is David Covey. His book is named Hometown Politics. David says, I grew up in a community in which most people went to church on Sunday, and if you did not believe in God, you at least respected other people's rights to believe in him. It was and remains common to hear phrases like, God bless you, and I'm praying for you. I can imagine that the founders of America probably had similar sayings. What surprises and saddens me is that while the majority of people in my town would say they are traditional, my local government is run as if there is no understanding of history or traditional values. It is time for all of us that believe in history, traditional values, and limited government to get engaged in our hometown politics. It is time to cultivate healthy local government. We say we want a just government, but then we conduct local politics like integrity does not belong in government. It is time to be like the men and women who founded our nation. We need to be courageous enough to acknowledge God in the public square. We need our leaders to look to history for answers. We need everyday Americans involved in hometown politics. The great news is that you are only responsible for your own circles of influence. You only have to patch the wall in your own backyard. If we all do our part, the impossible can become reality. To fix America, fix your local government. It starts with you. It starts locally. Restoring integrity in hometown politics is the key to restoring integrity in America. Okay, so I'm not sure where David grew up, but it sounds like it was just small town America, kind of like we've got going here in Fayette County. And I'm not saying that corruption abounds in Fayette County. I'm just saying we just need to ensure going forward that the people that we elect to these offices are the best qualified and the ones that stand up for your values. So again, thank you for being here to educate yourself, learn about the candidates, and be able to make an informed decision in the March 1st primary. So, first thing I want to do before we get started to the questions is just quickly recognize any elected officials we have in the audience. I know the mayor of Ellinger is here, Mr. Mikulicka. Oh, there he is back there. Okay, thank you for coming. You don't have to hide over there, you know. All right, do we have any other? Yes, Brenda Feasum is here. Thank you for coming. Any other elected officials? Okay, moving on then. A little bit of housekeeping. The restrooms are right back there. We've got snack bar is open with, I think they told me they're selling nachos and hot dogs and beer and drinks and a little bit of dessert. So anytime during the forum, if you get a little bit hungry, feel free to stroll over there and get you something to eat. There was information when you walked in, and it's on the table, information about the polling locations that are going to be open on March 1st, also information on early voting, and information on all of our forums, because we do have 2 more after this. Both of those will be at Frishoff. The following 2 Saturday evenings from 5 to 7. The next one we're going to, again, concentrate on the county judge race. Since it is a countywide race, I wanted to give different parts of the county opportunities to attend these forums. So the next one at Frishoff next Saturday will be for the county judges, and then the last one on February the 12th is going to be also at Frishoff for the House District 85 candidates. There's 4 of those. So that's an important race too. You want to be there and learn as much as you can about those candidates. Yes? Judge Ross. Terry Ross. All right. Thank you, Linda. Okay. I want to thank those who are helping us with our forums, members of our Fayette County Republican Party and Fayette County Republican Women. Especially want to recognize our moderator, Rita Dernell. Okay. Her assistant moderator, Deborah Eagsall, and I actually got her name correct. Not easy, but I did. Our timekeeper, Tom Kubena. Also, thank you, Tom, for contacting me to offer this facility for our forum and making the arrangements, having everything set up. I really appreciate all your help. Thank you. We have Constable Precinct 2, Roger Wunderlich is here for our security. Thank you, Roger. And I think his good buddy Billy Wrench is also there. Constable for Precinct 1, right? Did I get that right? Okay. So thank you both for being here. Our sound manager is David Stahl. Thank you, David. He's running all the audio equipment. Andy Balin with Fayette County Record is here live streaming the forum for us. It will be posted on their Facebook page and then later on YouTube. Okay, so thank you. I think everybody should have been told that there's index cards on the sign-in table. If you have questions for the candidates, fill them out on those index cards. They'll be collected after we get through the first 10 prepared questions. We'll take a brief intermission, collect your index cards, and we will have time for 5 of those questions. But keep in mind, your questions need to be applicable to all candidates. You can't target just one candidate with a specific question. We want to give all the candidates opportunity to answer the same question. So keep that in mind when you're turning in your questions. And if you would like to help support our Fayette County Republican Party for these forums or just in general, you're more than welcome to give a free will donation. I'll gladly accept it tonight. So, having said all of that, I'm going to turn this over to our moderator, Rita Dernell. She's going to read the forum rules to the candidates and ensure that they stick with those rules. So, thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. We'll review the rules real briefly. Candidates should turn off all electronic devices when seated for questions. Candidates are to focus their responses on their own experience and qualifications for the office they're seeking. Candidates should listen carefully to the questions and answer them completely. They may ask the moderator to repeat the question if needed. Candidates should only respond to the questions asked. If they go off topic, moderators will stop them and move on to the next candidate. Candidates must not disparage other candidates. If a candidate making disparaging remarks about another candidate, they will be removed from the candidate tables for the remainder of the forum. Each candidate must pay attention to timekeeper cards. They will have 3 minutes for their opening remarks, 1.5 minutes response time per question starting in ballot order, and 2 minutes for closing remarks. All candidates will be given the opportunity to answer each question. Questions will be repeated for each candidate before their response. The initial question will be addressed to the candidates starting in ballot order. J.P. Race, Jamie Moreau, Brad Neville, and Victor Weishuhn. And then the county judge race, William Bernsen, Dan Mueller, Craig Moreau, and Lorie Berger. Each subsequent question will be initially directed to the next candidate in the ballot order, so that every candidate will eventually have questions directed to them first. Do you all have any questions? Okay. Thank you. We will start with Jamie, if you would like to make your opening remarks.
Hi, my name is Jamie Moreau.
And you don't need to move it in.
You can.
Okay. My name is Jamie Moreau, and I am so thankful that you're here tonight. It means a lot to me that you would want to come out and learn about myself and my fellow candidates. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be as much fun as Ellinger Bingo, but we will try and keep it lively. Maybe the snack bar will help in that regard. What you're going to hear tonight is a lot about the Office of the Justice of the Peace and its unique job description and the many facets that it entails. And what I hope you walk away from hearing is that my professional experience and education meets those unique requirements in more ways than even I could believe when I started first researching the position. I live here in Fayette County Precinct 2 with my husband Craig and our 3 daughters. My parents also live on the same property as we do, and they're very involved in our children's lives. My in-laws are not far away, and they're also extremely involved, and they tend to come up more than we tend to go visit them because they also love Fayette County. I've been a certified foster home. We welcomed 2 young boys into our house for a year, and we worked closely with the state of Texas, helping to raise those boys at a time when they could not live in their birth parents' house. I have a master's degree in psychology with a focus on human behavior. I received that degree while I was working at Texas Children's Hospital through their tuition assistance program. I felt that it would just be the responsible thing to do to continue my education, even though I loved the job that I was in. That particular job was a job that I worked in the emergency room. I was a child life specialist. That encompasses everything from advocacy to support, communication. I was basically the person that was the go-between from the staff to law enforcement to CPS to social work. If there was someone there involving a patient's case, I was involved in making sure that everyone was on the same page. I dealt with a lot of death and dying, which coincides very well with the Office of Justice of the Peace, as well as that law enforcement piece of having to work hand in hand with them. Locally, I've been a school teacher for both LaGrange ISD and Fayetteville ISD, and I've loved the years that I have spent there working with my students, their families, and the amazing staff at both schools. I have a youngest sister who graduated from Round Top ISD as well. Further than that, I've also been a very involved member of our community. I serve as the secretary of the Fayette County Republican Women. I'm also the arts and charity liaison for Round Top Magazine, and that's afforded me the opportunity to see the many wonderful nonprofits that are in our precinct. I look forward to telling you more about myself as the evening goes on. Thank you.
Brian?
My name is Bradley Neville. I'm 42 years old. I started my career in law enforcement in 2006 with Fayette County. I am also a member of the fire department in Fayetteville. I've been a member for 20 years. I've had many aspects with the judges and the JPs in the county. I've worked in the jail, like I said, for 15 years, and in 2015 I promoted to sergeant over the jail and all the correction officers, and I oversee all jail operations as well as magistration every morning, day-to-day work with the justice of the peace. I've had many aspects with the protective orders and all the other things that the justice of the peace do, as far as submitting stuff to the state, as far as the protective orders and the inquests. I've seen day-to-day work with Judge Hartman and Judge Sufall and Judge Mueller when he was Justice of the Peace, and worked hand-in-hand with them daily. As far as the fire department, I've worked hand-in-hand daily with the Justice of the Peace when they come out for inquests on wrecks and unfortunate incidences where somebody has passed away. As far as family, my family's been here since the 1800s. There's a historical family cemetery in Willis, right outside of Willis Springs on the north side of Cummins Creek. It's the Albert Cemetery. That's my great-great-great-grandparents that are all buried there. As a kid, I came here every weekend, working on the farm. Had to listen to Grandma tell me, don't swing in that swing, you're gonna dig rocks. You're gonna dig rocks, fill them holes in. And we worked day in, day out. And, you know, I've met a lot of the people, the old timers. I remember going to Birch's Meat Market and all that stuff. And went to school in Brookshire, which was in Waller County. My parents, they raised us in Waller County because, you know, they had to have a job. And I'm going to tell you, Fayette County, there wasn't a lot of big paying jobs. Everybody went to Houston. So Mom and Dad went to Houston and Waller County. That's where they raised us kids. And we moved back as soon as we could and down running the family farm, taking care of a herd of cows, horses, you name it, I got it. And worked day in, day out with the fire department and the sheriff's department. Thank you.
Okay, Victor?
I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and for everyone viewing at home. I'm Victor Weishuhn. I'm a candidate for Justice of the Peace here in Precinct 2. Just a little background about myself. I grew up in the Round Top area, just over in Waldeck, where I graduated from Round Top Carmine, and after that I went on to study at Blinn College and went to Sam Houston State University, where I got a degree in agriculture business. Shortly after that, I worked in outside sales for a time for the company I worked with at SAM. I taught for a little bit, and then for the last 5 years, I've been working with the State Health Services as a meat inspector, regulating state and federal regulations at all of our local meat markets here in our circuit, from here to Lockhart and some places across the state. So I do travel around with that quite a bit. I am involved with a few groups around the area, and I'm trying to grow my involvement with those. Some of the things I'm involved with is I'm an active member of our Young Farmers chapter in Round Top. I also work with the North Central Wildlife Association, and this last year I got to join the Colorado Valley Independent Cattlemen's Association through some friends, and this year was my first year to volunteer for the Fayette County Heifer show in LaGrange, which was a lot of fun. Got to help the kids, and I definitely plan to do that for many years to come. My goal for the position is fairly straightforward. It is to give a full commitment to the job to provide a fair, honest, nonpartisan service as your Justice of the Peace here in Precinct 2.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on with the candidate questions, starting in ballot order. Jamie, the first question is, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of Justice of the Peace, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
Thank you, Rita. I feel that I'm very informed about the Office of Justice of the Peace. I initially started doing my own research back last year and getting what information that I could. Everything that I saw about the position just excited me a little bit more about the next thing that I saw. As I said earlier, it is a very unique position. It entails a lot of understanding about death and dying for the inquest that happened, and I have that experience through my work at the hospital. But it's a lot of other things. There are civil matters that the Justice of the Peace has to handle. There are criminal matters that the Justice of the Peace handles. They are able to help in instances of evictions that are needed. They work with truancy, and as Brad said, they also magistrate at the jail, which is a big responsibility and something that they're responsible for 1 weekend a month. In addition to my own research, I did go and meet with Judge Sue Fall in her office and asked her some of my questions about how the office is run and about the responsibilities that she has on a daily basis. Both she and Donna are amazing in what they do, and they have run that office in a manner that is going to be difficult to fill those shoes, but I feel that after I've learned a lot from what they do and from them about how they do it, I'm prepared to fill those shoes. Thank you.
Brad, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of Justice of the Peace, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
Over the 15 plus years that I worked at the Sheriff's Office, like I said, I work day in and day out with the judges. We magistrate daily, every morning, and we handle all the magistration matters. Judges come into the jail, they magistrate the inmates, give them a bond, give them the opportunity to get out of jail. That's one of your civil rights. So I worked with that, and then also with the fire department, I've dealt with the inquest part of it, and in the matters of deaths, of loss of family members in that. As far as the civil process, you know, it's going to be something new. It's going to be something new for me and both of my competitors here, our candidates. It's going to be something new as far as but I look forward to that opportunity and to grow my experience with the county. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit new, but some of that you still don't know. Thank you.
Victor, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of Justice of the Peace, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
Well, before signing up for to be on the ballot, I did look into the roles of Justice of the Peace beforehand to familiarize myself with the types of cases that they see that come through the court, such as the civil cases, truancy, landlord and tenant, traffic and class C misdemeanors, and as well as doing inquests and magistrate duties. And I also went and talked with Ms. Sue Fall beforehand because I wanted to get all the ins and out details of the position before I signed up to have my name on the ballot, because it was a big decision. I wanted to make sure I had all the information I had. The experiences I have, I do not have direct experience handling civil cases or traffic cases in the past, but with my current job, I had to learn and regulate state and federal laws, so I had to learn legal rhetoric and learn how to use that in a regulatory manner. And also with my previous experiences, learning how to communicate and talk with all manners of the public and being able to clearly and concisely convey what you're trying to tell them and what they need to do.
Thank you. Brad, you'll be taking the next question first, which is question number 2. Explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as a justice of the peace.
Once again, when I graduated high school in '98, and I moved to Fayette County in '99, and I started with the sheriff's office. My personal background and experiences in working day in, day out with the judges and dealing with the inmates, you kind of know the people that you're dealing with. As far as all the inmates, you know a lot of the people that you get speeding tickets from, they're the same ones over and over. For some reason, it's a revolving door. Nobody understands that, but that's how it is. I deal with the people daily. I deal with the people with the fire department daily. You know the public. As long as you can talk to the public, you can pretty much handle the situation. And I believe that with my experiences in the jail, we can, and dealing with the judges, I'm qualified for this.
Thank you. Victor, explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as the justice of the peace.
Yes, like I said on the last question, I have to work currently with laws and regulations and trying to learn new rhetoric and keep up with new things that the state and the federal government are coming out with that apply to my position. And so learning that language is something that will have to come with this position as well for the new justice of the peace. To also, my previous experience as working in sales and also with my inspection job now, you have to be able to communicate and talk with people in different manners, and I have gotten a lot better at that over the years. And we as inspectors have to be able to talk, be friendly and forthright whenever we're speaking with the people we are doing inspections with. And also, with my agriculture business degree, I do think it'll help with managing the office, staying within our budget, and maybe finding ways in the office if there is any to make sure we're operating in the office monetarily efficiently, so we can save our taxpayers a little money. So.
Thank you. Jamie, explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as justice of the peace.
I'll start with my certifications. I am currently, and have been for many years now, a certified school teacher through the state of Texas. And as you can imagine, I've been able to learn so much about the people of this county through teaching school. I've been able to learn how to pronounce these wonderful German and Czech names. I've been able to work with the kids and the Czech dancing that happens at Lick Skillet, and the history behind that is fascinating. So I feel like I've had quite an exposure to our county through the certification of being a teacher. As I said earlier, I've also been a certified foster parent. I did not miss a court case for those boys. I wanted to make sure that our family was well informed and that we were working collectively with the other parties to get what was best done for those boys. And I think that it says a lot that the state of Texas entrusted them to my family and our home. I spoke earlier about my master's degree in psychology. That was such a fun degree to obtain. I actually got to do some work in a rat lab, which I do not like rats, but we were able to train them and follow their behaviors and see what happens when you introduce rewards, when you introduce punishments, when you take away rewards. And how those mice responded to that taught me a lot about human behavior. And I believe as justice of the peace, I can fall back on that knowledge and I can help people understand maybe how they got to where they are and how we can help them make decisions to get to a better place.
Thank you. Victor, you will take question number 3 first. Do you consider the justice of the peace position a full-time job? And do you have other sources of income that you plan to continue if elected?
I do consider the JP position a full-time job. It would be my full-time commitment for sure. The only other sources of income that would be on the side away from the JP's office would be our family cattle operation that my father and I operate together. But that, other than that, no, it would be my full-time position.
Thank you. Jamie, do you consider the justice of the peace position a full-time job? And do you have other sources of income you plan to continue if elected?
Yes, ma'am. I'm currently a substitute teacher at Fayetteville ISD, and I do not plan to continue that in the capacity which I've been doing it. As you can imagine, I'm not there for the money, and I'm not seeking the Office of Justice of the Peace for the pay either. So I do have some other sources of income through my husband, but I'm seeking the Office of Justice of the Peace because of the work itself, and I will be able to put my full-time attention to that. I'll be able to treat it. I think it is a full-time job, although you will be told that it's part-time. I was told by Judge Sufall that it's a part-time position. However, I know that she's there from in the morning when she drops her grandkids off, till late into the afternoon until she's free to go, until she's done with the work. And that's what my work ethic is as well. The other reason that I believe it's a full-time job is because it is a 24/7 position. I'm well aware that there are calls that come in the middle of the night, and I'm fully prepared to take those calls, thankfully to the team that I have and my family and their ability to help me with my girls.
Thank you. Brad, do you consider the justice of the peace position a full-time job? And do you have other sources of income you plan to continue if elected?
Yes, ma'am. I do consider it a full-time job. It's kind of like the position I'm in now, and like Jamie said, there's gonna be them nights where you get them phone calls in the middle of the night, and you're gonna have to go to a wreck scene, or you're gonna have to go pronounce somebody at an inquest, or there might be an instance where you have to get up and magistrate a juvenile from the county at the wee hours of the morning. It is, and I do have other sources of income. Like Victor said, him and his father have cattle. My family has cattle, and that's one of our incomes as well. We raise cattle for day-to-day operations, and then I also am a certified welder, and in the state, and I've been welding since I graduated high school, and now I do it on the side.
Thank you. Jamie, you'll be taking question number 4 first. As Justice of the Peace, you may have early knowledge of available estate properties. Will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest?
Yes, ma'am. I recognize that the Office of Justice of the Peace is a respected position, and that everyone that votes, whatever candidate you vote for, you're going to expect that person to hold that office with integrity. And I have a long record of integrity that you can see throughout the work I've done with the schools, as a foster parent at the hospital. And so I don't have any land dealings. I don't know anything. I'm not here to purchase land or estates that might become available, nor would I be in the business of discussing that with other people. We have our property that we bought at the same time as my mom and dad, and that was from the Shimmicks, and we're very excited to have it, and we're very excited to leave that with our girls when the time comes. So no, I have no conflicts of interest, and I look forward to serving the office with the utmost integrity and honesty.
Thank you. Brad, as Justice of the Peace, you may have early knowledge of available estate properties. Will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest?
Yes, ma'am. I will not look forward to being involved in that. My family has inherited land over the many years, and that's the land that we have. I don't believe it would be in the best interest of my nor my family, nor the county for me to be involved in something like that. And I want to keep the integrity of the offices in the state it's in. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor, as Justice of the Peace, you may have early knowledge of available estate properties. Will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest?
Yes, as an elected official, it is of utmost importance to represent the office honorably and with integrity, and so to avoid any situations like that is of the utmost importance. So you can tell the public knows that you are serving their best interest and you're not trying to serve your own self-interest.
Thank you. Brad, you will be taking question number 5 first. As Justice of the Peace, how do you plan to be readily accessible to your constituents and the needs of the county?
Well, like I am now, I mean, my guys at the office, they call me 24/7. And I plan to be available with, like the fire department does. When we get paid out, I go. I plan to be available. I plan to be at the office. I plan to take phone calls. If you email me, I'll answer it. Give me a call. I have no problem sitting down, talking with you. Whatever we need to do, we'll do it.
Thank you. Victor, as Justice of the Peace, how do you plan to be readily accessible to your constituents and the needs of the county?
Well, to be available for Justice of the Peace, it means to be in the office so you can be available for people to come and talk to you or to call you or to email you, so you can get back with those responses. This position is a little different than some of our other ones, just because some of the things that the Justice of the Peace handles, such as your civil cases, traffic cases, things like that, cannot be discussed. And so if you open the door too much, then people may want to start calling about this or that you cannot be discussing with them. So until you hear it in court. So also, I would like to open the door for schools and other groups. I would be more than happy to come and talk about the job and the state of the county and the position and how things are going and things like that. And so, yes, availability at the office is the key importance.
Thank you. Jamie, as Justice of the Peace, how do you plan to be readily accessible to your constituents and the needs of the county?
One of the important parts of the job is going to be communicating with all of the members of Precinct 2 in their time of need or in their time of need for the office. So I would agree with Victor that one of the most important things that you could do to be accessible would be to be present in the office. And I would welcome anyone to stop in and say hello, ask questions that you may have. I also think that emails and phones are a great way to stay in touch, and I am more than happy to be accessible those ways. When I taught school, I had no trouble sending out a weekly newsletter that included my personal phone number, because the last thing I want is a parent to need to get in touch with me and have to go through some kind of automated system, or it's the weekend and they can't get an answer. So I have a history of being readily available. But I'm also a rule follower, and so I am not going to be one that's going to be discussing things that are not meant to be discussed. I'm not going to be able to unethically talk about parts of cases that are private matters, that I'm only privy to the information because of my position. So while I will welcome and look forward to your visits and your phone calls, I will respond to your emails, I will also follow a strict ethical guideline to keep information private that is supposed to be private.
Thank you. Victor, you'll be taking question number 6 first. Considering personal responsibilities to your family and or community, how will you ensure that you have the time to perform your duties as Justice of the Peace?
Well, it would be a full-time commitment for me. So I would be at the job on a full-time basis. And I was aware of the 24/7 aspects of the job, the phone calls, the weekends, and things like that, when looking into the job. And I know that is part of the position. I've talked with others that have similar positions or hold this position, and I am going to work to be available if there's any reason that I cannot, for some reason, that it is up to the elected official or the JP to work with the other JPs to make sure that the coverage is there if an emergency arises. But yes, it will be a full-time commitment, and I'm not married, I don't have any kids currently, so I do not have that on my plate currently, so time is a limit.
Thank you. Jamie, considering personal responsibilities to your family and or community, how will you ensure that you have time to perform your duties as Justice of the Peace?
I think professionalism and work ethic are the two things that come to mind. I've shown over 2 decades now that I am a professional. When I worked at the hospital, those were 12-hour shifts. 3 people, including myself, covered those shifts 7 days a week. And in the 12 years that I worked at Texas Children's Hospital, we would plan those schedules a month in advance. We would work together. Obviously, there would be times where all 3 of us needed a certain weekend off or wanted a certain day off for different reasons. My other 2 coworkers were both Bama fans, and so I worked a lot of nights when they were off watching the games. I would say that all of that shows that in those 12 years, I didn't miss a shift one time, including the family and community responsibilities that I had at that time. As a school teacher, I come to work on time, I'm there when the doors are open, and I've been there many nights plenty late or taken things home with me that needed to get done because of my work ethic. And so in the job of Justice of the Peace, it will be my priority. I will be a professional taking care of those tasks, and I will make a way to finish the jobs that need to be finished in the time that they need to be finished.
Thank you. Brian, considering personal responsibilities to your family and or community, how will you ensure that you have time to perform for your duties as Justice of the Peace?
Well, I will ensure it the same way I've ensured it the last 15 to 20 years. You know, I mean, I'm like Victor. I don't have any kids right now. And I go to work every day and listen to all the stuff at the jail. And every day I work, and my ethic of work and overseeing the facility and handling all the medical and other stuff that the jail has. It's basically, I'm gonna tell you that ethically I would be there. I answer and do just like I would now. I mean, I'm there 24 hours a day. Basically, my phone rings and I gotta go to work in the middle of, at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the way it is now. It's nothing's gonna change. I will be there ethically and do everything I need to ensure the community has what we need.
Thank you. Jamie, you'll be taking question number 7 next. Jamie, are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by state and federal government during the past 2 years? If so, name the lawful justification for them.
I believe that the government is an institute that's there for the people. And I also believe that we, especially as Fayette County and members of society, have a heart for one another, and we have a heart for doing what's right. I am not in favor of government mandates telling people what masks they have to wear, when they have to wear them. I'm not in favor of vaccine mandates. I'm not in favor of the government fining businesses because the business itself will not require mandates. It was almost surprising to me that the question was asked at the forum last week for the commissioners and the county judges whether or not the candidates were vaccinated. I would just like to say to you that I feel like that's being used against us. It's being used to divide us. And as we said our pledges earlier, that word indivisible is in both the federal and state pledge. And I just don't believe that we should be judging one another based on whether we're wearing masks or whether we're vaccinated. And so I hope that as the days come, we will be focused far more on how we can truly help each other, either at the local government level, by voting, or by being involved in your community in whatever way you feel the most safe doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad, are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by state and federal government during the past 2 years? And if so, name the lawful justification for them.
No, ma'am, I'm not. I believe it's every individual and every business to either ask their employees to wear a mask or the individual to make his own decision whether or not he wants to wear a mask. I do not believe it has any rule or anywhere in the government that they need to enforce that upon us. I think as individuals, we're all grown up. We can do that on our own. If you can't make a respectable decision that if you're sick, you know you don't need to go there. You don't need to go out and go to the bar. You don't need to go to school. If you're sick, stay at home. That's my opinion on it.
Thank you. Victor, are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by state and federal government during the past 2 years? And if so, name the lawful justification for them.
No, I'm not in favor of the state and federal government mandating that someone needs to get a vaccine or has to wear a mask or can't gather with their family during the holidays. I believe it's the individual's right and the business owner's right to decide if they want to get a vaccine or wear a mask or if they want to travel out of state. That is their decision, and for them or for their employee or for their business to handle themselves. It shouldn't be up to the state and federal legislators to tell them that they should have to do that.
Thank you. Brad, we'll be taking question number 8 first. As a resident of Precinct 2, what changes or improvements would you like to see take place to positively guide the residential and economics in this area?
As far as changes taking place, the commissioners and that, they do a pretty good job of maintaining roads. There are some roads that need to be adjusted a little bit. It was a big deal back 8 months ago, the big truck deal in Fayetteville. Everybody was worried about that. I think that issue it's been going on for years. I don't think that there really needs to be an adjustment, except maybe, working with the landowners a little bit. But, as far as any other changes we're doing good. The county's doing real well, and we're growing. Luckily, we got more and more people moving to our county, and everybody's working together for a great cause. And I think we're doing good, and it's going to evolve. And everything's going to keep evolving. But the county's doing a great job. You got good commissioners, good leaders at the top.
Thank you. Victor, as a resident of Precinct 2, what changes or improvements would you like to see take place to positively guide the residential and economic progress in this area?
Well, with the increase of population countywide, things are changing, and though a lot of the local litigation comes from Commissioner's Court, it would be wise for all the elected officials to be aware of how it's going to change their offices, specifically for Justice of the Peace. The amount of cases and the types of cases that we're going to be seeing come through are going to be ever changing. And so we have to be able to adapt and change with those, specifically in the JP position. I would like to say that the judge and commissioner's court, they have to find ways to incorporate all these new people that want to come and live here and enjoy this area that we all love through infrastructure and things like that, to make sure that everyone can have what they need plateaued.
Thank you. Jamie, as a resident of Precinct 2, what changes or improvements would you like to see take place to positively guide the residential and economic progress in this area?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that we chose Fayette County because of its unbelievable benefits and the values that are here. The people that are here that are extremely welcoming, that are hard workers, that have molded this place into what it is, and I would like to see it stay that way for my children and their children. We do have to look at growth within our county as more people are realizing that it is a wonderful, centrally located place to be. They're going to come this way and they're going to be looking for what's available. I think we need to be very aware of that, and I think we need to be aware of being able to provide good paying jobs to those who are already here. I know from experience in the schools that childcare is a real challenge for young families who are here. I've been blessed, like I said, to have my children's grandparents available, but if you don't have that, and you don't have a place to leave your kids during the day, it can be very difficult to have a job in Fayette County, even if it's a good paying job, if there's not a childcare available. So I think the county judge and the commissioners need to be very focused on how to mold the growth of this area in such a manner that we can accommodate people who are coming, but we can maintain our values and our beauty the way that it is.
Thank you. Victor, you'll be taking question number 9 first. Part of the job of the Justice of the Peace is to pronounce deaths associated with highway accidents. How are you prepared to handle these situations?
Well, that will be a part of the job that will take a little getting used to, because that will be a new experience and an unpleasant experience. And so it will take a little getting used to do that. But you have to have someone that can be level-headed and perform the task in a situation like that. So they arrive at, they can be respectful and sympathetic to the situation, but also come there with a level and sound mind and perform the task.
Thank you. Jamie, part of the job of the Justice of the Peace is to pronounce deaths associated with highway accidents. How are you prepared to handle these situations?
My job at Texas Children's Hospital, like I said, was in the emergency room, and unfortunately, there is a lot of death and dying that takes place there. It's one of our nation's largest children's hospitals, and as you might guess, you never know what's going to come through the door. So deaths, be it from chronic illness or from motor accidents, I've seen that. I understand what that looks like. I've been to the morgue with families. I have sat with siblings that were grieving that acute, immediate loss of their loved one. One of the parts of that job was providing some memory items and some legacy items for those families and those children, and that requires a lot of empathy and a lot of communication. You can't just sympathize with them or feel sorry for them. You've got to actually put yourself in someone's shoes and ask how you'd like to be treated. So when I was working at the hospital, and I would say the same is true for the Office of Justice of the Peace, if I know there's been a death in our precinct, I want to be the one that's there because I know what kind of dedicated, trained services will be provided to the family. I will be someone that would bring calm and compassion and can help your family walk through that dark event, whether it's a motor vehicle accident, a drowning, the loss of a child, whatever the case may be. I would want you to say, our Justice of the Peace was a very important presence during that time, and you'll be able to say that if you elect me.
Thank you. Brad, part of the job of the Justice of the Peace is to pronounce deaths associated with highway accidents. How are you prepared to handle these situations?
Well, in the 20 years I've been in the fire department, I've actually had to be on a couple of them scenes and had to be there with the judge in extracting individuals out of vehicles, extricating individuals out of vehicles. And I believe you need to keep the respect and dignity of that patient in mind. And I've done that and will continue to do that and keep the family in mind too. You know, they're going through a rough time right now, and I believe we can do that.
Thank you. Jamie, you'll be taking question number 10 next. In the past decade, there has been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas of Texas, as well as from out of state into Fayette County, especially your precinct. As this growth continues, how might it affect the responsibilities of Justice of the Peace Precinct 2?
There has been a lot of growth, and it's because our precinct is unique. It's unique when you look at the different diverse populations that are here. I absolutely love the different small towns that form Precinct 2. We each have our own unique characteristics, and they're all charming, and they're all wonderful in their own way. As people come into this area, I believe that they're going to be able to take on some of those characteristics, and I hope take on the values of Precinct 2 and Fayette County as a whole. As far as Justice of the Peace, I could foresee that that would increase just the sheer number of cases that are being heard from the justice. When you think about civil cases and criminal cases, those won't lessen with a bigger population. So we'll have to be prepared for that, and we'll have to be able to work together, the 4 justices within the county, and see how we're going to handle that load. I also think, law enforcement does a really good job in our county, and we want them to take care of the law enforcement side of things. And when they're doing their jobs, it makes it so much easier for us to come alongside and do our jobs. And so I think that will all work hand in hand. As law enforcement is seeing their cases increase, the justices of the peace then can see their cases increase and follow suit with that to work together to take care of the growth within our precinct.
Thank you. Maria, in the past decade, there has been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas of Texas, as well as from out of state into Fayette County, especially your precinct. As this growth continues, how might it affect the responsibilities of Justice of the Peace Precinct 2?
Well, like Jamie said, there's a lot of people moving into our county, and it's a lot of aspects where the sheriff's department's doing a good job at what they got right now. And I think you're going to see a lot more of the NT people move this direction. It's a great venue, and it has been for years. Also in Round Top, you got the music venue. A lot of the music festival at Festival Hill. They're moving in and getting closer in the county. But I think it's going to bring the caseload up. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, you might have to bring on another clerk if the numbers continue, but I think that's something that your commissioners and your county judge is going to handle. As far as your caseload, you do your day-to-day and you work with law enforcement hand in hand, and it's going to all fall into place.
Thank you. Victor, in the past decade, there's been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas of Texas, as well as from out of state into Fayette County, especially your precinct. As this growth continues, how might it affect the responsibilities of Justice of the Peace Precinct 2?
Our area has been booming a lot for a while now, and specifically how that affects this office is going to be the amount of cases that we see and the types of cases that we see. And so it'll be integral for the new justice to work with their office staff, with their clerk, and to be mindful of how many cases are we handling, how many more can we handle, and what type of cases are we seeing? Are we seeing an influx of civil cases, or are we seeing an influx of traffic cases? And if we need to adjust how the office works, then we need to be able to adjust how we go and adapt moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, candidates, great job. Thank you very much. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. If you have written questions that you want us to consider presenting to the candidates, hold up your card and we'll come around and pick up those cards. Again, the bathrooms are there, snack bars over there, so we'll resume in 10 minutes and take up the county judge candidates. Thanks again, candidates. there yet. So we didn't really get any appropriate questions for the Justice of the Peace candidates, so you can move on to your closing remarks.
Jamie?
Thank you again for being here tonight and for taking time to listen to us and to let us teach you more about our backgrounds. I am so blessed to be in Fayette County, and I feel honored to be sitting before you tonight. I feel like I bring some things to the table that are relevant to the job that are hard to find anywhere else. It's been talked about a little bit that I'm the candidate that has kids, and I would just like to tell you that I think that makes me more prepared for the job because I'm already getting up at all times of the night. I'm already being a mediator. I'm already having to be a really good listener. This is true for teaching as well. I think a lot of times we get in our minds how a certain thing seems. Maybe we have that student or that child that is always a troublemaker, so when we see trouble, we assume it's that troublemaker child. And that's not the way to be a good teacher or a good parent, and it's not the way to be a good justice of the peace. I'm a good listener, I'm a good communicator, and I bring the education and the experience that this job needs. I look forward to the opportunity to serve you as Justice of the Peace, and I'll be very grateful for your vote. Thank you.
Brad?
Like Jamie said, it's an honor to sit here in front of y'all and represent us three representing the county and our Justice of the Peace here in Precinct 2. I look forward to the opportunity, and I look forward to being able to visit and sit down with each and every one of y'all. And with my experience, I believe that it takes a toll, and it's relevant. And I think that sitting in the county seat and in the Justice of the Peace Department is one step greater. It's an honored aspect, and I would love for that position. And I respect each and every one of y'all for coming out here tonight and listening to what we had to say and asking questions and giving us the opportunity to let y'all know where we stand in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone again for coming out tonight and tuning in to watch the forum this evening. I want to thank the Fayette County Republican Party and Ellinger Chamber of Commerce Hall for hosting the event. Like I said in my opening, my goal is to provide a honest, fair, nonpartisan service as Justice of the Peace for its constituents. And if elected, I will commit to being dependable, accountable, and available for those people here in Precinct 2. And I will work very hard to uphold the standards that our citizens have here in Precinct 2, that those high standards that they have for their elected officials, and I will work hard to meet those.
Thank you.
Okay. That concludes the forum for the Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2 forum. Again, great job, candidates. Thank you for coming out, and thank you all. Okay, we're going to take just about 5 minutes to get another microphone up here and get the candidates for county judge up to the front, and then we'll start with the county judge race. Good job. We're going to go ahead and get started with the county judge race now.
We're going to repeat the forum rules real quick this evening, if that's okay. Candidates should turn off all electronic devices when seated for questions. Candidates are to focus their responses on their own experience and qualifications for the office they're seeking. Candidates should listen carefully to the questions and answer them completely. They may ask the moderator to repeat the question if needed. Candidates should only respond to the questions asked. If they go off topic, moderators will stop them and move on to the next candidate. Candidates must not disparage other candidates. If the candidate makes disparaging remarks about another candidate, they will be removed from the candidate tables for the remainder of the forum. Each candidate must pay attention to the timekeeper cards. They will have 3 minutes for opening remarks. That's in valid order. 1.5 minutes response time per question, and 2 minutes for closing remarks. All candidates will be given the opportunity to answer each question. Questions will be repeated for each candidate before the response. The initial question will be addressed to the candidates starting in valid order. So that will be for the county judge race, William Bernsen, Dan Miller, Craig Moreau, Lori Berger. Each subsequent question will initially be directed to the next candidate in the ballot order, so that every candidate will eventually have questions directed to them first. We're going to go ahead and start with our opening remarks, so we'll be going in valid order. We'll start with William first.
Good evening. I am William Bernsen, and I want to be your next county judge. I am in my 19th year of marriage to the beautiful and talented Rita Bernell, and we have 6 wonderful children, ages 4 to 17, who were all born in this county. We have been homeschooling for 18 years, and we are members of the St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in Plum. I am a descendant of the Ellinger family, and who originally settled in Ross Perry, just north of here in 1851. My family heritage and history is on display at the Ellinger House at the Czech Center in LaGrange. I am a 9th generation Fayette County citizen, and my children are 10th generation, and I want my grandchildren to be the 11th. While I wasn't born here, we found our way home 18 years ago, and my heritage and roots run deep in the Fayette County soil. I'm the founder of Absolute Land Surveying, and we're celebrating our 20th year in business this year. My work has carried me to about 1/3 of Texas's counties and 6 states. In that time, I have spoken with thousands of landowners about their experiences with government, and in the last 2 years alone, I have overseen the construction of $75 million worth of critical infrastructure. I graduated from Texas A&M University at Corpus Christi with a Bachelor of Science degree in land surveying. I served 18 years on the Academic Advising Committee, which advises the university on matters of curriculum, and I served 17 years on the Texas Board of Professional Land Surveyors Item Writing Committee, which writes the exams for licensure for land surveyors. I am passionate about liberty and government. The overarching purpose of government is to secure the rights of the citizens. Liberty breeds prosperity. I have been awake and aware for many years now, paying attention to what's going on in the world, and I've been involved in local politics for 15 years. In that time, I have witnessed the continued degradation of society and culture and government. In 2020, they closed our businesses, told us to stay home, prevented us from visiting dying loved ones in hospitals and in nursing homes. They told us we couldn't assemble for weddings and funerals and church services. And it finally occurred to me that if I wanted to secure the blessings of liberty for my family, that I was going to have to run for local office. They say that all politics is local. And I believe the best way to save our country is one local government at a time. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, your opening remarks.
Well, I appreciate everyone who has turned out this evening. I am seeking the office of county judge. I was born and raised in Schulenburg. I want to recognize my wife, Vi, is here. She served as the extension agent here in Fayette County, but we remember in the old days as the Homemakers Club for about 20 years since she retired in about 2005 or so. I also have 2 of my sisters here, residents of LaGrange, Barbara and Felina, and Teresa Wolf are here this evening. Barbara and Teresa and I and another sister and two brothers grew up just outside the city limits in Schulenburg. Born and raised there in Schulenburg, went to elementary school at St. Rose, high school at Bishop Forest, went to work at the radio station in 1977 at the age of 21. I've been at the radio station, currently co-owner of the radio station, been affiliated with for 45 years. For 28 years, I have served as Justice of the Peace. I found it interesting here tonight listening to the three candidates who are seeking that office. I have served, as I say, for 28 years. We recognize Judge Ross, who had that position for many years. I want to say that her dad, Fred Ross, also had that position, and when I was first elected in '94, Judge Fred Ross was serving in that capacity. I'm close to county government. I was very good friends with Fritz Loprice, who served as county judge in the mid to late 70s. I was very close friends with Dan R. Beck, who died in 15. He served as a county judge and district judge. When we lost him in 15, I did the eulogy. It was honored to be to do the eulogy at his funeral service. And I have worked closely with the county judge who served as county judge for 28 years, Ed Yanechka. Ed Yanechka and my oldest brother, Alvin, were roommates at Sam Houston State University many, many years ago. And then I've worked closely for the last 4 years, well actually 3 years. Judge Weber's in his 4th year right now. I've worked closely with him, so I'm familiar with county government. I've been here my whole life, and I'd like to be your next county judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig?
Thank you. I'm Craig Moreau. I'm running for county judge. I'd like to just open with a brief comment about the prayer that opened up this service. It's the second time we've heard this prayer, and it's asked us to pray for the corruption and sins of our politicians. We do need to pray for the corruption and sins of our politicians. Also, we need to pray for the corruption and sins of all of us. It is, it's very clear that there's only one perfect person, and as Judge Weber says on a regular basis, they crucified him. Romans 13:1 says God puts leaders in a position for a reason. Sometimes those leaders are put in a position as a blessing. Sometimes those are put in a position as a punishment, I think, for us not doing what we should do. I would pray that if you choose me as your next county judge, I will be a blessing to you, and that you will pray for me. But even if you choose someone else to be county judge, I want you to pray for them as well. Pray for every politician, every leader in this county, because we need it, and we need it severely. I'm running for county judge with a pledge to you, the county residents. A pledge for safety, community, and prosperity. Safety and community lead to prosperity. Without a safe environment, we can't move to having a community that can do the things that it needs to do. Without community doing the things we need to do, we will not have prosperity. These things are intrinsic, and they need to work together, and I have a plan to do so. I always planned to run for county judge when our current judge retired. Judge Weber is my boss. It's been an absolute honor to work for him, and learn from a man of that caliber. If the 3-star general asked for me to, be his tire man, I would do that. But it would be the Chief of Emergency Management, Homeland Security, under a general of that caliber is an absolute honor. Like I said, I am the Fayette County Chief of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. We have done that for the last several years through some of the hardest times we've had in our county. We've had a massive pandemic that has shut down the world. We've had floods that have been unbelievable, 100, 200, 500-year floods that are coming on a regular basis. And we've had an ice storm that froze the entire state of Texas. My wife, who you got to meet earlier, is an amazing lady. I think you saw that in her speeches earlier. We have 3 daughters, Reagan, Madison, and Lincoln, as you might know, are named after Republican presidents. We do have a strong commitment to raise conservative, strong ladies that will make a difference in this world. I come from a law enforcement family. My father, Lieutenant Moreau, is here tonight. My dad, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, all of my uncles are law enforcement. I've been in that world since the time I was born. I had a little uniform as a kid with a badge number of half is how long we've been associated with the fire department, with the police department. Sorry. Moved to Fayette County shortly after college. Previous to that, I lived in the Houston area, and I am so glad to call Fayette County my home. I am a Houston firefighter. I'm a senior captain with the Houston Fire Department. I'm getting ready to retire from that. I cannot wait to do so. The timing coincides perfectly with taking the office of county judge. Other history that I have, I was a youth minister. I'm on the board of directors for many organizations, including the Jansen Animal Shelter. I ran out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorie?
Hi, I'm Lori Berger. I am from Flatonia, Texas. I was born in Weimar, lived in Flatonia almost my whole life, raised 3 children. In 1991, I was elected to city council, and then in 1998, I served as the first woman mayor in Flatonia, which was a task. I'll just say it that way. A lot of people didn't understand how a woman could be a mayor, but we did it. I did it. And I stayed there until 2006. And after that, I was appointed to my first governor's board by Governor Ann Richards, and then Governor Bush. 2009, Governor Rick Perry appointed me to the LCRA board for a 6-year term, and I was reappointed to the LCRA by Governor Abbott for a total of over 12 years, where I served as chair of the Community Development Grant Committee and also chair of Land and Community. I enjoyed immensely the chance to serve on the LCRA. I learned an enormous amount how things are done, how things can be done, and how things should be done. And it was always to help citizens, help Texans. Whether it was through grants, or whether it was through flooding, or through emergencies that we had, then we were there. And that's what I got from LCRA. I also, on local boards, I've served on Fayette Memorial Hospital, Guardian Jansen Animal Shelter, St. Mark's Board as well. And I've dedicated most of my life to serving the citizens of Texas, and I know that I have the willpower and the strength to represent and serve everyone here tonight, or everyone here in Fayette County.
Thank you. Now we'll go ahead and start our questions for our county judge candidates. We're going to start in ballot order with William. Question number 1. William, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of county judge, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
Well, I've been studying the laws and reading the statutes, and I can tell you that the only constitutional requirement for the position is they be well informed in the law. I've been a student of law for many years. The judge presides over the various county courts, and one of his responsibilities is to make sure that everything that the government does is lawful. The county judge presides over the commissioner's court and executes the will, and it serves as the chief executive of the county. It is actually the commissioners that run the county, and the judge simply executes the will of the commissioner's court. The county judge serves as an advocate and represents the citizens around the state when dealing with elected representatives in the governor's office. In my experience, I've served on committees for decades, demonstrating my strong leadership and ability to organize committees and meetings. I've served as Republican Party Precinct chair for, I think, 10 years. I even organized a convention one year. And I've served as election judge in the Plum West Point Precinct for 8 years. Since beginning my campaign 5 months ago, I have been attending commissioners' court meetings and meeting with elected officials and employees around the county, learning all that I can about the operations of the county government.
Thank you. Dan, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of county judge, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
Well, the county judge's office is a it's not an 8 to 5 office similar to the position I have right now. As Justice of the Peace, I'm on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Similarly, the county judge's position is not 8 to 5. Serve as the administrator, sort of like the mayor of a town, if you would. The county judge is similar to the mayor of a town in the county, but the whole county as a whole. I feel that the position of county judge should be a reflection of the people. And I believe of the people of here in Fayette County, precincts 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe that I reflect the people of this county. I believe I reflect the values of the county. I'm familiar with the county. I'm familiar with the people of the county. I'm familiar with county government. And I would appreciate being your county judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of county judge, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
Thank you. I'm extremely familiar with what the county judge does. He's my boss. His office is just down the hall from mine, and I have the pleasure of talking to him every day. There are 3 main duties of the county judge, and I found out through this campaign that a lot of people don't know those. The county judge is the chief executive and serves as kind of the mayor of the county that works with the city council of the county, if you will, which is the commissioner's court. They make all types of decisions involving employment, involving budget, involving what grants we're going to go for, a plethora of things. Pretty much anything that happens on a countywide level is determined by the county judge and the commissioner's court. The judge also rules over the judicial part of the job. The county judge in this county, and it's different for every county, rules over probates, which is something that is very important, because when you're going in and dealing with the death of a loved one and their estate, it's an emotional time. You need someone who knows how to deal with people in an honorable way. They do Class A and Class B misdemeanors, which can have significant jail time associated with them, and they also deal with juvenile court, which is something that I'm very excited about as well because of my history as a youth minister. And one of the most important things they do, especially in times of emergency, they are the director of emergency management. A lot of the powers that are set forth by the state and a lot of the things that we do on an emergency operations center all go through the county judge. He is the director of emergency management. Me as the chief of emergency management reports to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori, how familiar are you with the responsibilities of county judge, and what experience has provided you with this familiarity?
I've worked with several county judges throughout my LCRA career, basically one-on-one for programs in their areas and for grants that they might need to help in certain parks or in certain areas of their community. I feel like that the judge definitely represents the community, and that community is Fayette County. And every citizen is a part of Fayette County. And I would consider it an immense honor to be able to represent them fairly, equally, and with compassion.
Thank you. We'll start with Dan on question number 2. Explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as county judge.
Well, perhaps the best experience at all, experience of life, dealing with people, communicating with people. I think one of the candidates prior, I think it was Brad, who talked about being able to communicate with the people. If we keep communications going between all the departments, the commissioners, the justices of the peace, the county clerk, the district clerk, and so forth, that's the best way to tackle any problem that might come up. So I think that my life experience with communicating with people, my 28 years as Justice of the Peace, presiding over civil cases. I was just talking to, I'll still call her Judge Ross earlier. When she was a JP here in Precinct 2, the civil limit on a civil case was $5,000. Now it's $20,000. So we get more cases. I preside over those civil cases. I preside over criminal cases. Had a jury trial just yesterday in my office in Schulenburg. So My life experiences, communicating with people, giving people a fair shake when they come into court, and just doing the best I can to serve the people of Fayette County.
Thank you. Craig, explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as county judge.
Thank you. Thank you for this excellent question. I have a very broad background and experience. I think it prepares me the best for the judge because of that. I was a firefighter for 20 years. As you know, all first responders struggle to make ends meet, and we have to have second jobs to do so. My second jobs moved me into the business sector, primarily with medical research. I work for small companies, medium companies, and one of the largest companies in the world doing medical related things, primarily medical research. I was raised by law enforcement officers, as I mentioned earlier. I understand the struggles that come with that. I know that in this county we're losing good officers on a regular basis because we're not paying them what they're worth. And it's costing us more in the long run to do so, because when they leave we have to train somebody else up. And it costs a lot of money to train somebody and get them through the street, get them through their FTO program. It's a difficult thing. I spent 20 years as a paramedic, and as a paramedic, as a county judge, you oversee the Fayette County EMS. Fayette County EMS is a huge portion of our budget. Having the knowledge and the experience to oversee that helps us to find efficiencies and helps us to run that better. And I've had a broad educational background, both at the junior college, university, and trade school level. I think we need more junior college, university, and trade school options for the people of this county. If we want to have our kids be able to grow up in this county and stay here, we're going to have to train them to do so, and we're going to have to bring those options right here. We already have some good options. Schulenburg is partnered with Glenn, but we need more. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori, explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as county judge.
Well, I started young, started early, learning how to run a city government, and every aspect, being on council, being mayor pro tem, being mayor of Flatonia, and from there, working with the citizens, making sure we were doing what we needed to do to support them and to give them what they needed. As I see it, I think that the job of judge of Fayette County is basically the same thing. You need to listen to people, the citizens, ask what they want, what they need. You have to, try to unify the residents of every town, every little community in Fayette County. Fayette County is one of the best counties to live in, or no one would be beating down the walls trying to get in here. And we have to maintain that sense of community through the citizens and throughout the county.
Thank you. William, explain how your personal background, educational degrees, experience, and/or licenses will make you the best candidate to serve as county judge.
Well, I received a Bachelor of Science from Texas A&M Corpus Christi in 1999, and the degree was Geographic Information Systems. There was an emphasis in land surveying, so I have completed probably 140 hours worth of coursework in everything from technology to business law, accounting, history of Texas land ownership. I have been surveying for nearly, it's been over 20 years now, and I have read tens of thousands of deeds at the county courthouse. Not just deeds, but easements, wills, restrictions, everything you can imagine that's related to land. And every single one of those legal documents is a little slice of history. And you'd be amazed at what you learn about the history from an area by studying its historical land records. I have surveyed everything from road and bridges to utilities to major infrastructure projects. I've studied zoning ordinances in probably 30 jurisdictions and subdivisions regulations in probably 30 jurisdictions. I'm qualified to rewrite the subdivision regulations. I've studied easement law, dedications. I know about flood zones and elevation certificates. I have experience developing software. Not only can I understand complex systems and budgets, but I can write software to manage those budgets. I have certified in the FEMA Emergency Management Basics and e-real estate.
Thank you. Craig, we'll be starting with you for question number 3. What are your current sources of income, and if elected, will you continue them? If so, how will it affect your ability to perform your duties as county judge?
Thank you. I currently have income from 2 places, from being an emergency management chief here at Fayette County and as a senior captain with the Houston Fire Department. And I will be giving up both of those when I'm elected county judge. I have 89 shifts in 12 hours, so I can retire from the Houston Fire Department. I'd do it today if I could. I'm looking forward to only having one full-time job for the first time in my life. I probably will still work 80 hours a week as county judge, but at least it will be 2 required 40-hour weeks at the same time. So, thank you.
Thank you. Lorie, what are your current sources of income, and if elected, will you continue them? If so, how would it affect your ability to perform your duties as county judge?
I am currently the owner of Wine House. It's been open for 6 years in Flatonia, downtown Flatonia. It's not an advertisement, I'm sorry. Cannot like that.
That's a great question.
But also I left this out last week. I do have stocks and bonds, and I have 1 rental property, and I have land that my grandparents left me. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
William, what are your current sources of income, and if elected, will you continue them? If so, how will it affect your ability to perform your duties as county judge?
For the last 20 years, I've primarily had only one source of income, and that's been the business. Sadly, I'll have to give that up in order to take the position, but it's something I'm willing to do. In more recent years, my wife has earned some income through Plum Fabulous Foods, and I'm certain she'll continue to do that. I have been the model of stability, doing the same thing year after year with an ever-growing family. And I've demonstrated that I can live within a budget. I have the expectation that I can do so as county judge. Raising a family of 8 on a moderate income has given me the experience of living within my means, and I'm confident the practical experience will carry over into government.
Thank you. Dan, what are your current sources of income, and if elected, will you continue them? If so, how will it affect your ability to perform your duties as county judge?
Well, my source of income is the Justice of the Peace position in Precinct 4. My term will come to end December 31st of this year. I also have ownership in the radio station that I've been affiliated with for 45 years, and I also have investment property. I am in the middle of divesting myself from those properties at this time, and I will be divested completely from investment property if I'm lucky enough to be elected county judge.
Thank you. We'll start with Lorie for question number 4. In order of importance, what are the 3 most challenging responsibilities of the county judge position?
Keeping taxes low, firstly. Providing health care, providing ambulances, anything to do with health care. Also, getting out and knowing the citizens, knowing the people and what they want and what they need. Going to Braha, going to Cistern, all these little communities that we don't think about, I guess, but there are a lot of people that are settled there now because of the epidemic of COVID. People have moved out, and we've got to be careful with that as well.
Thank you. William, in order of importance, what are the 3 most challenging responsibilities of the county judge position?
The 3 most challenging responsibilities are usually going to be the people, the budget, and preparing for the future. With 250 employees in county government, it's not unlike a large family, and as with any organization, the people are usually the biggest and most important asset, and it's very important to keep them happy, well-trained, and well compensated. I am a peacemaker by nature, and so it makes me well suited for managing disputes. Regarding the budget, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I pay attention to detail, and I will be a good steward of the citizens' resources. I flat out call for the elimination of property tax, and so I'm going to be watching those taxes to keep them from increasing at too quickly a rate. There are plenty of positive things we could spend our money on, but you can't just raise taxes to pay for every good idea that comes to mind. Government welfare is not charity. The third thing would be to prepare for the future. It's going to be challenging as county judge to remember that you're just a citizen like everyone else, and we must listen to the current concerns of the citizen and look for solutions together. Be careful of buzzwords like master plan, because they usually require more government and more restrictions. I have no objection to a master plan so long as you are the masters of the plan. One strategy I would implement would be
Thank you. Dan, in order of importance, what are the three most challenging responsibilities of the county judge position?
Well, I think presiding over a fiscal conservative budget. We are, after all, here in Fayette County, fiscal conservatives. So presiding over a budget, maintaining that low tax rate, making sure that our professional services continue. For years, we have been a law enforcement society. Years ago, and I think even that holds true today, you have some residences across the nation that demean the law enforcement officers. Here in Fayette County, we have long paid tribute, and we honor our law enforcement professionals. And we must keep that type of service alive here in Fayette County, as well as the EMS services. We want the best services for our tax dollar. And then I would also like to resurrect something that was tried a few years ago, I believe in '03, and I think my wife may have been part of that. We had a futuristic forum of about 100 people, as I recall, and we sat down and talked about the future of Fayette County. So I would try to convene about 100 to 150 people here in the county and talk about the future and the way we can be prepared for the future.
Thank you. Craig, in order of importance, what are the three most challenging responsibilities of the county judge position?
Thank you. They're the three things that are in my pledge, and one leads to the other. Safety is primary. Safety not only for our first responders, but making sure we have the infrastructure to keep us safe. Right here in Ellinger, we have struggled mightily with getting safe water. Almost every county, almost every city in this county is struggling with sewer problems. We're at 97% capacity. That's a major, major issue. Ensure safety first, and then build community. As my colleague said, having a master plan is a big deal, and I think one of the best ways to implement a master plan is get government out of the way and let people do it. They can do it better. Our churches, our charities, our nonprofits want to take over and want to do things in a mighty way. I got to go to a banquet this week with a lady who talked about service that she was given in another state that totaled $40,000 a year for her child that needed special services. She said without all that money, she did not feel like her services got met well. But when she came here, the community wrapped herself around her, and she's never felt more comfortable and more alive and more cared for, and it was an amazing thing. These things lead to prosperity, which is the third thing in my pledge, and prosperity only comes with an extremely low tax rate and keeping low taxes in every way. I've been at the forefront of this tax discussion. It's on my signs. We have to keep taxes low to bring in business, to bring prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you. William, we're going to start with you for question number 5. Are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by state and federal government during the past 2 years? If so, name the lawful justification for them.
I am not in favor of any of those mandates, and there are no lawful justifications for them. Any rule or law or order which is unconstitutional is null and void from the beginning, as if it never existed. I'm quite certain I will have many pleasant conversations with the county attorney's office Some things I don't need help with, and such as mandates regarding the natural rights of the citizens. There's not really much that the county judge can do by themselves without the support of the community. The citizens actually are the government, and it's up to the elected officials to seek wise counsel from the citizens and find solutions. Quite frankly, the citizens are capable of making decisions on their own, and they don't need to be told what to do by government. We must challenge any mandate that is immoral, unlawful, or unjust, and I would never do anything to infringe on the natural rights of the citizens.
Thank you. Dan, are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by state and federal government during the past 2 years? And if so, name the lawful justification for them.
Well, I'm not sure that I would meet the request for a mandate by challenging it. I would probably ask the commissioners to come in and we'd sit down and discuss this, and then we'd probably bring the county attorney in to discuss this. I would like to think that if the state or the nation is calling for a mandate, that they're acting in good faith and have reason for doing that. From a safety standpoint or any other standpoint for that matter. So I would keep myself open. I'm not saying that I would enforce a mandate, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't.
Thank you. Craig, are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by the state and federal government during the last 2 years? And if so, name the lawful justification for them.
I'm not in favor of those. I think they were horrible. I think telling someone why they have to do something is a far inferior approach than teaching them why it's important. There was a lot of tough times and a lot of decisions that were made on a quick basis, and I understand where they were coming from, but it was not a good idea, and we should not have done that. We shouldn't be forcing people to get vaccines. We shouldn't be forcing people to get any medical care. If I knew the vaccine was 100% effective, had absolutely no risk, and gave me six-pack abs and furrier hair, I would still not mandate it. It doesn't make sense. I am an individual that gets to make my own medical decisions, and it was a problem. I was, unfortunately, I kind of had to deal with some of those. The governor would come and say, hey, you have to enforce this or enforce that. Judge Weber and I did everything we could to lighten that load in every way. One of the things they did was shut down all alcohol sales for a while. And we got on the phone with TABC and said, in Fayette County, we have a risk level that is low enough. We can open up a bar with limited people inside, and it's safe. We wanted to open up all the way and have people make good decisions, but we took that incremental approach and at least got something going. And sometimes you have to make those decisions. The only law I'm in favor of that was used was the Stafford Act, which allowed us to give PPE and medical supplies and hand sanitizer and masks and gloves to our nursing homes in the time of a disaster, which normally we can't because they're private businesses. And that limited exception, I think it was good to suspend some laws because it saved lives.
Thank you. Lorie, are you in agreement with the restrictions on gatherings, shutdown of businesses, and the mask and vaccine mandates forced upon us by state and federal government during the past 2 years? And if so, name the lawful justification for them.
No, I'm not in favor of them. I believe that every citizen of the county, every citizen of Texas, or every citizen that has been put under these mandates has their own responsibility to make their decision for themselves and what's good for them and what's good for their families. I can't really sit here and say that there is a lawful justification other than the fact that we had a very, very bad time with COVID, and it hit, and I don't think that anybody saw it. No one saw it coming. I don't think we had a plan. And I believe that if we would have stepped back for a moment and thought about it, and maybe some of this wouldn't have gotten so far out of hand. So that's my feelings.
Thank you. Dan, we'll be starting with you for question number 6. What do you see as the role of county judge regarding the enforcement of government mandates?
Well, I guess my answer would be pretty close to what I just said. I would meet with the commissioners, I'd meet with the county attorney, and we discussed the legality of our options. I can tell you that I'll repeat myself again, that I would be acting on the assumption that the mandates that are being handed down, the people are acting in good faith. I wouldn't receive the mandate naturally thinking it's something I'm going to change. Pretty much the same thing I just said. I would assume that the request of the mandate, or the mandate that's coming down, that the people are acting in good faith.
Thank you. Craig, what do you see as the role of county judge regarding the enforcement of government mandates?
I would not agree that they are always acting in good faith. We saw a time when we were promised, if we will shut down our light for 14 days to flatten the curve, we'll allow you to go back and do what you were doing before. That 14 days turned into months, and another month, and school shut down, and then started talking about shutting down the next year. That is absolutely unacceptable. We have to fight some of these things sometimes. There are times when it is going to make sense to have certain restrictions. Burn bans are one of those times. When it gets really dry, we try to educate people, we try to tell them, hey, be good, but at some point you have to do something. But in general, I reject the notion that everyone from above is always trying to do things in the best interest of the people. A lot of times they're trying to do things in their own best interest, and at times there's times to fight them. It takes some discernment, it takes some reasoning, and it takes a lot of prayer to know when those times are the right times, but there are times when we should not do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorie, what do you see as the role of county judge regarding the enforcement of government mandates?
I think, as I've said before, I think that the mandates should not be laid down on us. I think that we should have the responsibility of knowing what's best for our citizens. Basically, I think that government is overreaching, definitely, if they're doing that.
Thank you. William, what do you see as the role of county judge regarding the enforcement of government mandates?
Well, if the governor makes a mandate with the lawful authority, then it has the force and effect of law. And if the mandate is in fact lawful, then the county judge would have little choice but to execute the will of the government just like any other law or statute. However, once again, if it is not lawful, then it is the responsibility of the county judge chiefly to protect and preserve the rights of the citizens first. You can do that through advocacy, through discussing building community support. Frankly, the county judge, there's not a lot they can do on their own. They need the support of the community. They need the support of the other elected officials and other interest holders in the county.
Thank you. Craig, we'll be starting with you for question number 7. What changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Fayette County?
Well, we need to have more communication. More communication between stakeholders in this county. We need to have more communication with business owners, and we need to have more communications with our nonprofits. We need to get together in a room at least quarterly, maybe more often, and say, hey, what are the challenges? I've been talking to business owners this week. They said the massive challenge they have here is getting enough workers to fill jobs. I talked to a gentleman last night that wants to move a $151 million company potentially to this county, but he's worried that he has enough people to work, even if he pays high wages. That is a massive problem, and I don't think all of our leaders understand that. Our churches work very well together, but when there's a disaster that happens, a lot of times they all kind of get in the same room. Get in the same room with people in their church, and they come up with a list of things that need to be fixed, and they all come up with the same list pretty much, and start at the top, and all duplicate effort. With better communication, we can assign jobs both before, after disaster, during sunny days and rainy days, to take those leads. We've seen a local church take a lead for feeding people every Monday night. I think that's an awesome thing because there was some communication that went on, and now other churches are helping that church. And they come and they pray for people, and they give them a hamburger every Monday night. These little things can equate to big things if we continue the conversation and move forward. So communications with our nonprofits, communications with our elected officials and stakeholders, and communications with our business community. Maybe that one the most important, because that's the one that has not happened very much so far.
Thank you. Lorie, what changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Fayette County?
role model, first of all. Treat citizens like they treat citizens the way they want to be treated. Be respectful. Let them have a say in what goes on in in the county government. They have a say sometimes in local government, but not very rarely do they have a say in county government. I think gathering together citizens, committees from all areas of Fayette County, bringing them together and sitting around a table and really truly discussing and finding out what that area needs. I think that's the best way.
Thank you. William, what changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Fayette County?
Well, being a land surveyor, one of the things that's often on my mind are subdivisions. I'm very familiar with the subdivision process, and from visiting the Commissioner's Court, it's clear that they are granting variances for just about every subdivision, and that's a pretty clear indication that there's something wrong with the ordinance and needs some work. I would like to see enough growth in this community that my children can stay in Fayette County. I would propose some sort of advisory council for growth and business development. I would like to make sure that the law is applied equally to everyone of every status. I believe there is a need for more mental health advocacy. As I understand, there's not enough resources in this county to deal with everybody that has a need. You know, there really is no simple solution to a lot of these problems, and the best solution is almost always going to start with a conversation with the cities, and I would propose some sort of citizens council, quarterly meetings in the precincts, a lot more citizen participation, and periodically we need to look back at some of the things we have done and some of the actions we have taken, and with humility identify what we could have done better.
Thank you. Dan, what do you see as the role of county judge regarding the enforcement of government mandates? No, pardon me. What changes or improvements?
Please don't give me that.
No more talk about mandates. What changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Fayette County?
Well, you know, I'm not running for this office because I think we have major problems in the county. I'm not running for this office to make any great changes. I would like to see the Commissioner's Court meetings streamlined so that the people of the county can view the actions that are taken at this Commissioner Court meetings. As I mentioned earlier, perhaps form a futuristic conference where we can sit down and talk about how we can best here in the county prepare for the future. But just a common sense approach, and again, I'm not seeking this office to make any drastic changes.
Okay. Thank you. Lori, we're going to start with you for question number 8.
Okay.
Considering any personal, financial, or property investments, will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest if you're elected?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Okay, thank you. William, same question. Considering any personal, financial, or property investments, will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest if you're elected?
My life is an open book, and all you have to do is take a ride down Old Plum Highway past our little farm to see everything that we have. What you see is what you get. I'm not doing this for the paycheck or for the benefits or the notoriety. I'm doing this to secure the blessings of liberty and prosperity for my family. As a father, I'm used to making sacrifices, and nothing will ever prevent me from dedicating my time and service to the citizens, and I would never jeopardize my ability to serve without conflicts of interest.
Thank you. Dan, considering any personal, financial, or property investments, will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest if you're elected?
Of course. I've served as Justice of the Peace for 28 years. This is my 28th year. That means I've been elected to 7 4-year terms. You don't get elected to 7 4-year terms if you're perceived not to be doing something ethical. So the answer is a short yes, like Ms. Berger, but mine was just a little bit longer.
Okay, thank you. Craig, considering any personal, financial, or property investments, will you commit to avoid any financial transactions which would present a real or perceived conflict of interest if you are elected?
Yes, the only property I own is our farm that we bought at a good time because we couldn't afford it today. It has grown in value tremendously. But that doesn't matter to me because I never plan on selling it. I want my daughters and my grandkids and my great-grandkids to be able to experience that. I will not have any conflicts of interest, and I will abide by the judicial code of conduct and every canon in it as that relates to both property, investments, and everything else.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to question number 9. William, you'll be taking that first. In your opinion, what level of danger does the massive influx of illegal aliens into Texas pose to Fayette County, i.e. personal health and safety, county and school finances, tourism, and/or the historic culture?
Well, the vast majority of them are not really dangerous, and there are certainly criminal elements coming in. We have to deal with the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the drugs, and the nefarious criminals that do manage to get in. Working down on the border quite a bit, it's pretty heartbreaking to see them walking through the scrub brush and basically dying of thirst, and I have a lot of compassion for those folks. If we, the growth of that population, if it continues to grow, it's going to continue to burden the system, and it has potential to crash it. They certainly take our jobs and they dilute our wages, but there's not really much that the county can do about it. It's not really a county matter. Of course, we get to pick up the pieces. I would advocate with the governor's office to close the border, and we should absolutely lock down the border tight, and then we can deal with the consequences and the ramification of the years of inaction and poor decisions by state and federal governments.
Thank you. Dan, in your opinion, what level of danger does the massive influx of illegal aliens into Texas pose to Fayette County, i.e. personal health and safety, county and school finances, tourism, and/or the historic culture?
Well, as Mr. Bernsen just mentioned, there's not a whole lot the county judge can do about this. Now, it has impacted the county with our DPS troopers. Of course, the governor has asked the DPS troopers periodically to go to the border for security reasons, and so at least 1 to 2 of our troopers are out of the county for about a 6-week period until they return. So the troopers being gone from the county has impacted us. And also, as Brad mentioned in the prior forum, we do have our share of illegal aliens who are locked up. And when I magistrate at the jail, it is quite actually out of the ordinary where they're not illegal aliens. So we do have a problem in that respect. But as far as what the county judge can do, I think it's just a limited thing.
Okay, thank you. Craig, in your opinion, what level of danger does the massive influx of illegal aliens into Texas pose to Fayette County, i.e. personal health and safety, county and school finances, tourism, and/or the historic culture?
The absolute highest level, in particular because we have I-10 running through our county. I-10 is the human trafficking corridor of the world. There are more people trafficked through I-10 for illegal immigration, for sex traffic, for all types of things than there is anywhere else. On any given time, you can rest assured there's someone being drugged through our county against their will. It's a massive problem. And that problem compounds when they get pulled over. Our police officers pull up behind them and they hit the gas and they run and they cause traffic crashes, they cause deaths. The people that they're trafficking, when they roll their cars, are injured sometimes at great levels. We can have 10, 15, 20 people in a car, and when it crashes, that's a problem. They hit tourists that have been traveling through our county. That affects our finances in a mighty way, and there is something we can do about it. I sit on the threat liaison, as a threat liaison officer for the Austin Region Intelligence Center. I get confidential briefings on a daily basis, and we have a lot that we can do by increasing our surveillance, increasing our intelligence to get more information through the threat liaison office, and it lets us go out for some grants for some of that, so it doesn't cost the county anything in the end. There's a lot of federal money available for this. We need to treat it as a threat, identify it as a threat in all of our hazard matrices, and attack it aggressively.
Thank you. Lori, in your opinion, what level of danger does a massive influx of illegal aliens into Texas pose to Fayette County, i.e. personal health and safety, county and school finances, tourism, and/or the historic culture?
I think this is going to get, it's bad now, I think it's going to get worse as it continues. The federal government doesn't seem to have a realistic look at it. We won't take a realistic look at it. They see it as, we don't have to deal with it, it's in Texas, so we're not going to do anything. And human trafficking happens. Through Flatonia, we had 8 people that were thrown off of a 18-wheeler, had been bumped, just beaten around by the, riding in the back of the trailer. Guy dumps them out, find them at 11 o'clock at night. I personally was there, and they don't eat, they don't have water, they don't have anything for themselves to take care of themselves. They're just left. So we were, through the help of the Fayette County Sheriff's Department, able to get them to a bus to get to Houston to some family. And that's going to happen more and more. And fortunately, these people were very friendly and very willing to ask for nothing but just water. And we got them food and clothes and things like that together that evening. But as long as this continues to happen, the federal government is going to stand back and act like it's not happening. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to our last question in the formal section, question number 10, and we will take that to Dan. In the past decade, there's been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas in Texas, as well as from out of state, into Fayette County. What are your ideas for managing this growth that will promote economic opportunities while preserving our historic appeal and small town values?
Sure, that's going to continue because of our geographical location. I mean, everybody from Houston wants to come here, everybody from San Antonio and Austin, they want to come here, and they're not going to stop coming here. They're coming here because of the beauty of the county and where we are located. Our best bet for that is to have positive growth. No one wants their property values to go down, so everybody wants the people who move here to have respectable living situations and so forth. So I think that the county has some pretty good restrictions in. I see Commissioner McBroom here, and I know that they have over the years sat down to make sure that whoever constructs a home or buys property has to abide by the restrictions. So many acres before you can drill a well, so many acres before you have septic services and so forth. So the growth is going to happen, period. And the best thing we can do, or the county judge can do, and the commissioner's court can do, is to make sure that the growth is in some sort of a controlled manner.
Thank you. Craig, in the past decade, there's been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas in Texas, as well as from out of state into Fayette County. What are your ideas for managing this growth that will promote economic opportunities while preserving our historic appeal and small town values?
Thank you. We look at historical context of when this has been done elsewhere. People have had the same problems that we might have and the same opportunities that we might have. One of the places I'm looking at very closely is Montgomery County, Texas. Montgomery County is just down the road. They were a very small kind of bedroom county. They're actually farther away from the Woodlands than we are from Bastrop, and they're farther away from Houston than we are from Austin. Woodlands started moving into Montgomery County. Houston started moving into the Woodlands, and it created that trickle. They did not prepare for it very well. Their roads weren't able to keep up. They had massive traffic, massive congestion. Their sewers were behind. We have to do that better if we're going to do it here. We have to have a master plan. We have to bring in people who understand growth and urban planning and plan for that. But we do have a microcosm here of something that did right. Round Top, in a tiny little town, said, hey, we're not going to allow growth inside of our city limits that we can't keep up with. The sewer system there is at capacity, like almost everything in this county. We're at 97% capacity. But they said we're not going to allow growth until we have water and we have sewer for it. They put certain regulations in place so that you don't put a really trashy looking building next to something somebody invested a whole lot of money in. This master plan can go very well readily available to us.
Thank you. Lorie, in the past decade, there's been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas in Texas as well as from out of state into Fayette County. What are your ideas for managing this growth that will promote economic opportunities while preserving our historic appeal and small town values?
I would like to see us get a coalition together of the different mayors from Smithfield, Bastrop, where Bastrop's already had it's been going through there. They're going through Smithville now, moving out to Smithville, and then into LaGrange. And then I think we ought to include Columbus as well. I think we ought to all get together and find ways to work with each other. The commissioners' courts, I've been to some of their sessions, and they do deal with this quite often. Not only roads, but it's water, it's sewer, septic systems. I think that working with other communities that have already gone through this will be a very big help.
Thank you. William, in the past decade, there's been a large influx of people moving from the urban areas in Texas as well as from out of state into Fayette County. What are your ideas for managing this growth that will promote economic opportunities while preserving our historic appeal and small town values?
I know there are many citizens of this county that have an anti-growth attitude and would like to keep the outsiders out. I certainly understand the desire to keep the small town charm that we have in this county, but quite frankly, you really can't keep people out. They're going to come whether we like it or not. If you continue to take an eyes closed attitude, you're going to get the kind of development that you don't want. The better thing to do would be the wiser choice would be to properly plan for this growth, and that's going to require a lot of conversations with a lot of people. The Commissioner's Court is authorized to do a lot of things in regards to infrastructure that we currently don't. In the county, public water and electricity are handled by co-ops. Septic systems and water wells are handled privately. New roads are built by property developers and then simply maintained by the county. Using taxpayer dollars to construct infrastructure would certainly promote growth, but it would also increase the tax burden on the citizens. I would generally continue to look for ways to fund infrastructure projects like a sewage treatment plant for the town of Round Top using grant funding and matching with county contributions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. We're going to take a 10-minute quick break. Again, if you have any questions, for these candidates, hold up your card. Would you like to know? Okay, as promised, we have collected questions from the audience. We have reviewed them and weeded out ones that we feel like the topics have already pretty much been beaten to death. Hopefully the candidates can appreciate that. But we do have 5 rather unique questions that I don't think we've addressed yet, so we're going to get started with the audience questions.
Like we said, we condensed a few of these too. Okay, so we will be starting with Craig next for the first question. Fayette County does not currently have a food inspector. Do you believe that the residents of Fayette County deserve to be dining at food establishments that are in compliance with health and safety guidelines? And do you support hiring a food inspector for the county?
So when you don't have something on the county level, it defers to the state level. We do have state food inspectors. I brought those in before to look at some industries and different things. If there was a necessity for that, I would look into it. Actually, we just recently submitted it was a food poisoning issue to the Department of State Health Services. Our local health authority is Dr. Sharon Melville, and they're looking into it and investigating it. So right now, I'm not aware of a full-time necessity. If we got more and more food poisoning or more and more problems, then yeah, we'd look at it. Keeping people safe is what I'm all about. Right now, the local health authority through the Department of State Health Services and a couple of other regulating agencies, to my knowledge, are taking care of most of those problems. If there's more than that, please let me know. You don't have to wait till January. That's something I take care of right now. We can have that meeting Monday morning and look into it.
Thank you. Lori, same question. Fayette County does not currently have a food inspector, so do you believe the residents of the county deserve to be dining at food establishments that are in compliance with health and safety guidelines? And do you support hiring a food inspector for the county?
I would support hiring one if you got together with all the restaurants, you had the complaints, you saw the complaints, the judge gather everyone together and see if it's necessary. And then look at the complaints. I think that it probably would be a great idea if the counties got together and had a regional one, or something like that, because it is probably not a job that would take 40 hours a week to do if you just did LaGrange, but maybe throughout the county.
Thank you. William, Fayette County does not currently have a food inspector. Do you believe the residents of the county deserve to be dining at food establishments that are in compliance with health and safety guidelines? Do you support hiring a food inspector for the county?
Of course, the people of the county deserve to be eating in establishments that are healthy and safe. I'm not sure that there is enough need for a full-time inspector of the county. I don't know much about this, and I don't mind admitting I don't know everything. Before I could say whether or not I would support such a thing, I'd have to seek the wise counsel of the citizens. Of course, you also have the free market option that people are free to eat wherever they like, and if they eat somewhere where they are made sick, well, then I would report that in the private sector, and eventually word will get out and people will stop going there, and that place will correct their actions. So I'm not sure that it needs has a need for a full-time position, but it's something we'd have to look into.
Thank you. Dan, same question. Fayette County does not currently have a food inspector. Do you believe the residents of the county deserve to be dining at food establishments that are in compliance with health and safety guidelines? And do you support hiring a food inspector for the county?
No, I would not hire a food inspector for the county. I think, as Lorie mentioned, there wouldn't be enough, a 40-hour position there. The perfect person to ask this question to would be my wife, Vi, when she was the extension agent here in the county, and the state mandated some things for businesses that offered food. They had to come into compliance with the state regulations, and Vi was the lady that went throughout the county, throughout the businesses, to make sure that they were following the state rules. So the bottom line, sure, we all want to know the place we're eating at is clean, unless it's a prevalent problem. I would definitely not add any more bureaucracy to county government.
Thank you. Lorie, we'll start with you on the next question. What is your vision for bringing in additional, better-paying jobs via anchor businesses that will attract permanent young families to Fayette County?
I think that would be associated with the growth that's going on around Austin, outside of Austin. The new truck plant that's going in there. There's going to be several parts for those vehicles, and I think that there's going to be a need for locations of companies that work with them, keeping them close so they're not paying a whole lot of freight and whatever. But I think that is going to be our right now our first step, and I think going on in the future, it's going to continue. There's so many people wanting to move out of the cities and into smaller areas.
Thank you. William, what is your vision for bringing in additional better-paying jobs via anchor businesses that will attract permanent young families to Fayette County?
Via what businesses?
Anchor businesses.
Anchor businesses?
Yes.
As in businesses that stay in the community for a long time?
Yes, yes.
That's a very good question. First thing to do would be to remove any restrictions and any unnecessary red tape that would prevent businesses from coming here in the first place. I've heard stories of people around the county trying to open and start businesses, and there's been, again, a very anti-business attitude amongst many of the community leaders. And so I don't know that I would want a large technology company, though that probably benefit a lot of folks. I'd like to see a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurship. And I think if there were more things for the youth to do around here, if there were more opportunity, it would attract more people and it would attract more business. And everywhere I look, I see restrictions and bureaucracy. And so I'm not sure what can be done about that, but it's going to take a change in attitude amongst the citizens, and it's going to require a lot of conversations to do so.
Thank you. Dan, what is your vision for bringing in additional better paying jobs via anchor businesses into the county that will attract permanent young families?
Sure, that'd be something we'd all strive for. LaGrange has good paying jobs. I'm talking about as far as Fayette County is concerned, but for years, Schulenburg has attracted industry jobs, but low paying jobs. LaGrange, you've got the courthouse, you've got the highway department, you've got the power plant, you've got Fayette Electric, the Colorado Electric, high paying jobs. So yes, of course, we all want higher paying jobs brought here, and I'll do whatever I can as county judge to attract good paying jobs, and that's the key. Going back to the southern part of the county, we've got lower paying jobs. High paying jobs, that's what we need here.
Thank you. Craig, what is your vision for bringing in additional better paying jobs via anchor businesses that will attract permanent young families to the county?
Thank you for the question. This is my passion. The number one thing we do, first of all, foremost, is keep the tax rate low. They're not coming if we raise our taxes. We bring in more revenue by keeping that rate low and getting those anchor industries here. Currently, the only anchor employer we have is LCRA. And we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket, as great as LCRA is. So we have to meet the need and we have to meet the market. In our community, the need is primarily for health care. You're 6 times more likely to die of a vascular event in Fayette County than you are for places that have high-level vascular care. That's a stroke and that's a heart attack. You're 3 times more likely to die of a neoplasm, that's a cancer, than you are at places that have high-level cancer care. And we also have a population that is 14 years older by average than most places in Texas. If I was a business that wanted to serve somebody, I could not imagine a better platform for that. So we attract those, we make things that move them into the market, and I'll get to that in a second. The other thing we do is to meet the market. In this county, we have a lot of beef, but we generally sell it on the hoof. We can do things to have value added and get more money for our beef, packing, different things. And then closing, you're not going to do either one of those unless you address the 3 major problems that we have right now. We don't have enough housing that young families can afford, we don't have enough child care, and we don't have enough specialized training. But I have a plan for all that. Please look on my website. It's all lined out there very clearly.
Thank you. Our next question will start with William first. William, are you familiar with the county budget? And if so, have you recognized or identified any inefficiencies that you will address?
The county budget is very large and complex, and it's going to be very hard to absorb that in a short amount of time. But however, I did take a look at the budget from 2019 to see if I could determine where the increase came from, as was asked last week. And after studying the comprehensive annual financial reports and looking at the balance sheets in there, on average, there's about a 4% increase in tax revenue and expenses every year. And in 2019, there was a 10% increase in revenue and an 11% increase in expenses. On the balance sheet, most of that was due to an increase in the tax base. So the value of the properties increased so much. Tax rate remained the same, but everybody's taxes went up. There was about $2.4 million in excess funds. About a third of that, $800,000, was left on the balance sheet, and about $1.5 million of that went to primarily 3 capital projects. There was purchases for equipment and communications equipment, purchases of trucks and trailers and a chip spreader, and about $760,000 of that went to the EMS building.
Thank you. Dan, are you familiar with the county budget? And if so, have you recognized any inefficiencies that you will address?
Well, I'm familiar with the county budget, and the reason that we have conservative people here in the county as leaders is because people like Judge Weber, prior to Judge Weber, Judge Unichka, prior to Judge Unichka, Judge Beck, prior to Judge Beck, Judge Fritz Low-Price, and before Fritz Low-Price, Judge Ike Petrosh, all fiscal conservatives. Same thing like if you look at the sheriffs that we've had. Sheriff Korenik, a fiscal conservative. Prior to him, Sheriff Rick Vandal. Prior to Sheriff Vandal, Vastine Copeman. Before Copeman, Sheriff Flournoy. What do they all have in common? Well, good law enforcement officers, but also know how to control spending. And so, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I don't see a major problem with the spending here on the county level.
Thank you. Craig, are you familiar with the county budget? And if so, have you recognized any inefficiencies that you plan to address?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the county budget. I sit through those budget meetings every year. I have to submit my own budget. Our county runs really lean. Judge Weber is a big part of that. Another person that's a big part of that is the gentleman in the back of the room, Jason McBroom. He beats me up on my budget all the time. He looks at every little Band-Aid that's spent. The people looking after your money in this county do a really, really good job. The only inefficiencies I see is there's some things that we're paying for that we might could pay for with what Judge Weber calls OPM, other people's money. And so we need to look for more grants. Judge Weber allowed me to hire a full-time grant administrator, and she paid for her entire, probably decade worth of salary in the first few months she was here, bringing in literally millions of dollars that we did not know were there, and looking in places that people don't always look. You know, that low-hanging fruit's easy to get in the grant world, honestly, but looking for private grants, looking for complicated grants out there takes some effort. Some of them aren't worth the squeeze. Truthfully, a lot of them have more strings attached than they're worth, but they are worth exploring to see if that's the case or if that is not the case. So I'd like to congratulate all the people that have run this county for a long time. They do it very, very lean, and they try very hard to keep your tax dollars spent very well. We have an exceptional group of leaders here.
Thank you. Lori, are you familiar with the county budget? And if so, have you recognized any inefficiencies that you would like to address?
I have gone through it very carefully several times to look at every line item. I think that you would have to be an author of that budget to be able to sit here and say that yes, there are some things that maybe shouldn't be in there. But for me, as a person who is looking at it on the other side, I can't say that I would know what would be needed to come out, so.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will start with Dan. How are you planning on continuing support for all the veterans of Fayette County as county judge?
Well, I'm not planning to do anything differently than it's already been done. You know, the veterans are a big part of our county. We've got an aging group of veterans, but I've been working with the veterans here in Fayette County for 45 years. I've got a picture that hangs on my wall when I was the parade marshal here in Ellinger. After it was all over, my friend, the late James Brosman, coordinated the VFW and the American Legion from Schulenburg, and he wanted to take a picture, and that picture hangs in the American Legion Hall in Schulenburg. It hangs in my office. So I sit here now, I don't have an answer for you as to what to do to pay tribute to the veterans any more than we always have. There are some in our society that say that the Vietnam veteran was spit on and such like that. Well, that's true. That did happen in the United States of America, but I promise you it never happened in Fayette County, Texas.
Thank you. Craig, as county judge, how are you planning to continue to support the veterans of the county?
So we have a member of the American Legion in this room. He invited me out to speak to American Legion around top and get some input they have. And what I found was they're dealing with a lot of the same issues that everyone else is. They're worried about paying for the house because the taxes are going up. They don't have the access to the health care, and they need it more than others. We can help the things that they have by helping the community as a whole. Specifically, there's some things that we can do to help them that we're not doing. something very simple, like I want to put a veterans-only parking spot at the courthouse. You know, that's not something big, but it means something to people, and these little acknowledgments mean a lot. I would also like to have someone help them even more so than currently exist with the benefits that they've already earned and finding and navigating through those. You know, they've got all these federal benefits, and that's great, but as you know, dealing with the federal government is very difficult, especially for someone who may not have the most familiarity with the internet, or may have other issues, may have hearing or vision problems from their time serving our country. Just do the things that already exist, but do them better is what I would do. And thank you so much for our veterans. I'm so blessed to work for a 3-star general. I married a colonel's daughter. I have the utmost respect for our military. I do not have the pleasure of serving, but it is an institution I hold dear.
Thank you. Lorie, as county judge, how would you continue to support the veterans of the county?
I would love to see a program set up where young kids that are in high school or graduated from college or living in the LaGrange or Fayette County area, actually, if they would have a buddy system. I really think that a military man that has, or military person that has served that long, and they have stories to tell, and stories that will mean something later on in life. And I would like for them to share those with them. And just make sure that the younger generation knows what they fought for.
Thank you. William, as county judge, how would you plan to continue supporting the veterans of our county?
Well, quite frankly, I'm not very familiar with what the county's doing at this time. I did talk to the head of that department, but we were discussing matters unrelated to Veterans Affairs. I will surely speak to him this week, and I will get back to you next week with an answer on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our last question, we'll start with Craig. As Chief Executive Officer of Fayette County, what would you do personally to reach out to Fayette County schools, both public and private?
That goes back to what we've been talking about all week, having the communication together. I have a very good relationship with all of our superintendents, public and private, and I talk to them on a regular basis. And one of the first things I did as the Chief of Emergency Management is I created an email group, and I send out county updates to these folks all the time. We bring them in, we communicate our needs. I'm working at getting an active shooter class together for our schools. I've already gotten it approved for some other folks. There's a lot we can do. You know, obviously we don't have oversight over the schools. They're independent school districts for a reason. But having that very close relationship with the county is an immeasurable gain, and I would continue to do so in the same manner I'm doing already. If you want to know what I would do, just look at what I've done over the last couple of years. I work very, very closely with our schools, both our private and our public schools, in the same manner. I also don't think we should be giving partiality to one versus the other, or even partiality to one versus people who choose to homeschool their kids. There's a lot of ways out there to educate your kids well. We should support them all with all our efforts.
Thank you. Lorie, same question. As Chief Executive Officer of Fayette County, what would you do personally to reach out to the Fayette County schools, public and private?
I would go visit each one. I would go sit through some of the classes in the younger grades, the middle grade, middle school, and all through high school. I want them to feel like their opinions or their thoughts matter, and sit and listen. And maybe start a group from all of the schools in the district, or in the county, I'm sorry, and have them get together once a month and talk about the things that they're going through, so that we can find help, or we can find answers for them.
Thank you. William, same question. As Chief Executive Officer of Fayette County, what would you do personally to reach out to Fayette County schools, public and private?
Well, the county government really has no jurisdiction over the schools, and so I don't know that it would be appropriate to reach out to them. Public schools, of course, if I were invited to speak, I would offer wise counsel. If anybody wanted my advice and opinion on anything, I would certainly talk to them. But I don't know that I would be reaching out to them. in particular private schools, may not want to be reached out to by government. Speaking as a homeschooler, homeschoolers don't particularly like government interference in their education. And so while I would gladly speak to anyone who would like to hear my opinions and wise counsel, it's not something I'm thinking about right now because it's not within the realm of jurisdiction of the government.
Thank you. Dan, same question as Chief Executive Officer of Fayette County. What would you do to personally reach out to the Fayette County schools, public and private?
Well, my answer would be a little bit different. I think that the youngsters, the students in school, they're our greatest resource, and I would have a plan to visit every school district board meeting at least once a year, much like I would visit the city council meetings in each town on a timely basis, doing what I can to help as the county judge, doing what I have to keep our school districts as strong as they can be, both the independent school districts as well as the private schools.
Thank you. That's all the questions that we have this evening. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing remarks, so we'll go ahead and start with William for your closing remarks.
Well, thanks everyone for coming here tonight. I'm glad to see that the message of liberty is spreading so rapidly. It is clear that my principled stance for liberty and liberty of government is popular, and I'm glad to see others so readily adopt these positions. Liberty matters, the law matters, and our families matter. I believe I speak for the silent majority who have been keeping their heads down and working really hard, who have been browbeaten and intimidated. No one should lose their job, and no businesses should be closed. As the citizens know best and are capable of making decisions on their own without government interference. Any organization takes on the characteristics of its leader. Now more than ever, we need a good role model and a principled, unwavering leader who will fight to preserve the rights that made this country great. We need protection from tyranny from the White House to the State House to the courthouse. Here I am. And I'm going to focus on the future of Fayette County, and I look forward to working with the citizens and elected officials and the employees to make our future bright. I want to thank my wonderful and beautiful wife, Brianne, and all of my children for their complete dedication and support. Without them, I couldn't do this, and it's because of them that I do. I want to thank everyone in the hall here for hosting and the Republican Party for putting on this event. And I thank all of the citizens. I'm so glad to see such a large attendance at these events. I have been calling for citizen participation since the beginning. Please visit my website at williamforliberty.com, and that is the word for. There you'll find my complete and detailed resume, more background information, and my contact information. I would be happy to meet with any of you and your friends, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks and God bless.
Thank you. Dan, your closing remarks.
Well, my slogan for my campaign is a Fayette County native with a common sense approach, a commitment to justice, integrity, honesty, and low taxes. People across the county know me. They know what I stand for. For 28 years, I've been the Justice of the Peace of Precinct 4. And for those of you perhaps not familiar with Precinct 4, it's Schulenburg, Ammonsville, Holman, Dubina, Swizzow, Mullins Prairie, High Hill, St. John, the Freiburg area. In 1983, then Judge Dan Beck called me to his office one day. He said, I want to start a Crime Stoppers program and I want you to head it up. So Judge Beck and I sat down and we picked out some people from across the county. Otto Steinhauser from Platonia, Jack Blazel and Ray Elliott from Schulenburg, John Sufer from Fayetteville, and we started Fayette County Crime Stoppers, and it's in existence still today. I serve as the president. I see two of my cohorts in the back of the room, Constable Roger Wunderlich, Constable Billy Wrench. They're members of Fayette County Crime Stoppers. We played a huge part, I say we, Crime Stoppers played a huge part in solving a crime that occurred here about 6 months ago. It's not been prosecuted, so I'm not at liberty to talk about it. But people know me, they know what I stand for, and it would be an honor to serve as your next Fayette County Judge.
Thank you. Craig, closing remarks?
Thank you. You guys have been able to hear what our opinions are on different subjects and hear what some of our background is. But what I'm going to share with you now is what kind of judge I'm going to be to you and what your interaction is going to be with me as a judge. Transparency will be very important. It will be a key. We need financial transparency, not just by putting our budget up on the website, but putting it in a way that people can understand. And if you still don't understand it, we'll sit down and explain it to you. Let me give you something else that I learned from my boss, Judge Weber. Here's my phone number, 832-692-6034. That's my personal cell phone number, and I'm not changing it when I become county judge. Call me anytime. Many of you have called me over the last couple of years with worries already. My phone blows up all the time, all times of the night. 20 years as a fireman, that is perfectly fine with me. Call me, I will have an open door policy. I would like to consider moving Commissioners Court to a time that people can come and see what goes on inside your county, especially on things that have public comment and have a high interest to the community. I want to institute what's called a consent agenda, so that a lot of stuff that goes before Commissioners Court is wordy and takes forever. We can get it out of the way quick, and we're not going to waste your time if you do decide to come to court and see what's going on. With a consent agenda, anything that is wants to be brought up and talked about can be pulled by any commissioner or the judge and talked about. But things that are routine and need to be passed are going to be passed. I'm going to have an open door policy just as Judge Weber has, and Mr. Schlabach, I also have a plan to open the doors to the courthouse on all four sides. I have Moreau22.com as my website, and also have a very good discussion page, which a lot of the things you've heard about tonight come from. It's the Craig Moreau for County Judge discussion group on Facebook. Come in. If you like stuff I'm saying, great. If you don't like stuff I'm saying, even better. I want to know why, and we want to move forward together with this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lori, the closing remarks?
Well, first of all, let me thank you for getting this together and doing this now for us twice. And one more time next week, I believe. I want to say that I realize I'm just going to go ahead and say the word. I'm the only woman in the group. And I know people might think that that's not what we need. But when I was the first mayor in Flatonia, we did things we got things done that were needed so desperately that they couldn't make the decision, couldn't figure out where to come up with the money, couldn't get it done. So we got a lot of things done. I moved from there. I've served on countless governor's boards. Through housing, building roads, sewer plants. No, it's not pretty, but it has to be done. It's just planning for all of those things on these different committees that I've been on. LCRA has taught me so much. It's a huge company, but it's not. LCRA, the plant out here, the guys work harder than anybody I know. And through the last year, during the blizzard, they were all at work. They weren't home. And I was proud to be part of that. I want to represent the citizens of the entire county. And I want to prove to you that I can be a strong judge and use my contacts with the governor's office and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to all the candidates that did a great job. I really appreciate them coming up, and I really, really appreciate everybody in the audience showing up to, again, make